Okay, so you're thinking about IELTS, right? And specifically speaking, part 3.
Yeah.
But like not just good enough. You want to like really ace it.
You want to hit that band 9. Yeah.
Band 9.
That top level pinnacle of English speaking ability.
Like really showing them what you can do with the language.
Exactly.
And you've probably been like looking around, on YouTube and stuff and found like these kind of advanced tips and strategies and things like that.
There are some little tricks and tips that people don't always talk about that can really help push you up to that band 9 level.
So that's what we're going to be talking about in this deep dive, right?
Yeah.
We're going to really like break down those advanced strategies for IELTS Speaking Part 3.
Yep.
Which I think a lot of people find to be like the hardest part of the speaking exam.
Absolutely. It's where they really separate the good from the great.
Yeah, because it's not personal anymore. You've done your personal stuff in Part 1. You've talked about yourself for a couple of minutes.
Like your hobbies or whatever.
Exactly.
But now it's like...
This is where you show that you can think critically...
Big ideas.
About big ideas.
Yeah.
And express yourself.
In a really nuanced and precise way.
Yeah, precisely.
So what is the examiner actually looking for in Part 3? Like, what do they want to hear?
Okay, so it's about moving away from those personal experiences that you talked about in Part 1 and 2.
Right.
And now we're looking at broader, kind of more abstract concepts.
Okay.
So they want to see that you can articulate your opinions, but not just say, I think this. They want you to justify that.
Provide evidence or...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Give reasons why you think that.
Reasons why you think that.
And they also want you to be able to analyze different ideas critically.
Okay.
And speculate.
Oh, speculate about like...
Yeah, like what could happen in the future.
Oh, okay.
What are the implications of that?
So it's really about taking those concepts and exploring them.
Exploring them.
In a more sophisticated way.
Okay, so it's like the difference between like my personal opinion on something.
Right.
Versus like, how can we discuss this as like a global issue or like a...
Yes.
Yeah.
A societal issue, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay, so how do we signal that shift in perspective then?
Right, so instead of saying... I think you could say something like in many societies, that's generally believed that.
Right.
Or from a wider perspective.
Yeah.
The main reason for this trend is that kind of thing.
Got it.
That shows the examiner that you're thinking on a more abstract level.
Right.
You're not just talking about your own little world.
Right. So it's not about like whether I think technology's been good or bad. It's like, how can I discuss the impact of technology on a global scale?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is they're not actually really interested in your opinions.
No, they don't really hear what you think.
No, they don't care what you think they want to see.
Yeah.
How well you can express those opinions.
So it's not about like being right or wrong. It's about like...
It's about how you use the language to convey your ideas.
Got it. Okay.
So a band 9 performance is really about showing a flexible and in-depth use of English.
Okay.
Using a range of vocabulary, complex grammar structures, being able to, speculate, evaluate, justify all those sophisticated language functions.
Right. Okay.
And that shows them that you're ready for,
You could go to university.
Yeah, university.
Or like get a job.
A professional setting.
Where you need to use English at a high level.
Exactly.
Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we talked about, some of these kind of like shocking... kips, right? Or like the less conventional.
Yeah, these are the things that people don't always tell you about.
Yeah, what are some of those that can really make a difference?
So the first one is, and this might sound a bit strange, is to cultivate genuine intellectual curiosity.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So even if the topic is something you've never really thought about before, try to approach it with curiosity.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of brainstorming beforehand.
Before the exam.
Yeah.
Like, think about some of the common topics.
Exactly. Think about different perspectives. Think about the pros and cons.
Right.
And that will help you to sound more natural.
And genuine.
Yeah.
When you're speaking.
Okay.
Because you'll have something to say.
Yeah, you'll have some ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And examiners can spot that.
They can tell if you're like really interested.
If you're just reciting something.
Or just like,
Or if you're genuinely engaged.
Right. Okay, so be curious.
Be curious about the topic.
Yeah. Another one is, and this is a bit more subtle, is to consider the underlying assumptions of the question. And maybe even challenge them a little bit.
Oh, challenge them.
Yeah. So, for example, if the question assumes that all technological advancements are good, you might say, well, while technology has brought many benefits, it's also important to consider
the downsides. Or like the unintended consequences.
Exactly. So you're showing that you're thinking critically.
You're not just accepting the premise of the question.
Exactly. And you're considering different perspectives.
Right. So like play devil's advocate a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
What else?
Another one is don't be afraid to take a little bit of thinking time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like usually silence is like
people panic.
Enemy.
When there's silence.
Yeah.
But actually a little bit of silence can be really helpful.
Right.
So you can use fillers like
let me think about that for a moment.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that gives you time to formulate a better response.
So it's not like dead air.
No.
It's like I'm using this to think.
It's processing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not like a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
To have a few seconds of silence.
No. As long as you're not just like...
Staring blankly.
At
the examiner.
Yeah.
Right?
And then another one is to try to have like a mini debate.
A mini debate?
In your head before you speak.
Like with yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
So consider both sides of the argument.
Right.
And that will help you to give a more balanced and well-reasoned response.
So it's like I'm presenting both sides.
Even if I only believe in one.
Exactly.
I'm still going to present both.
Yeah.
Just to show that I've thought about it.
Yes.
Okay.
And it also helps you to develop your ideas more fully.
Right, like flesh out the argument.
Exactly.
Right.
And then finally, don't underestimate the power of nuance. Yeah.
Okay.
So using adverbs and qualifying language.
Okay.
So words like slightly, potentially, to some extent.
Arguably,
yeah.
Right.
All of those words add a layer of sophistication.
To your language.
And it makes you sound
more like a native speaker.
Yes. Yeah. Because native speakers naturally...
Yeah, we don't speak in absolutes all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
We use those subtle shades of meaning to express ourselves more precisely.
So that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Use those adverbs.
Okay,
cool. Now we need to talk about like extended responses.
Right.
Because in part 3, it's not like part 1 where you can just give a quick answer. They want to hear you talk.
They want you to develop your ideas.
Yeah.
Give them some meat.
Yeah, for like 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah, at least 30 seconds. Ideally more.
So how do we do that? How do we give these extended responses without just waffling?
Right. You don't want to just waffle. You want to make sure that you're providing
substance
and detail.
Details.
Yeah. So one way to do that is to use a structured approach.
Okay, like a framework or something.
Yeah, a framework.
Okay.
So a simple one is the 3-step approach.
Okay, tell me about that.
So first, you state your position.
Okay.
Second, you give a reason.
Okay.
And third, you give an example.
Oh, okay. So it's like...
So for instance, if the question is about the benefits of technology, you might say, well, I believe technology has many benefits because it allows us to connect with people all over the world. Okay. For example, I can use social media to stay in touch with my friends who live overseas.
Right.
So you've stated your position, you've given a reason, and you've given an example. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Simple.
That's a good framework.
Right.
What other frameworks are there?
There's a 4-step process as well.
Okay, what's that one?
So you start by answering the question directly.
Okay.
Then you explain your answer with reasons.
Okay.
Then you give a specific example. And finally, you offer an alternative perspective.
Oh, okay. So you're like looking at it from a different angle.
Exactly. Okay. Or you could discuss a potential consequence.
Oh, consequence.
Of your viewpoint.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So you're really showing that you've thought about the issue from multiple angles.
Right. Okay.
And there's another one called the Explain Alternative Example Framework, which is similar.
Yeah.
But you start by explaining your main point.
Right.
Then you consider an alternative viewpoint.
Okay.
And then you give an example.
You're kind of like illustrate it.
To illustrate it.
Yeah.
So there are different ways to structure it.
Yeah.
But the key is to make sure you're going into depth.
Detail.
Yeah. Yes. You're not just giving a surface level answer.
Right.
You're really exploring the ideas.
Okay, now let's talk about language.
Right.
Like vocabulary and grammar.
Yeah.
What kind of things are they looking for in part 3?
So vocabulary is really important.
Yeah.
They want to see that you have a wide range of vocabulary.
Okay.
And that you can use it appropriately.
Appropriately.
Yeah. So if you're talking about technology, you should be using words like innovation or artificial intelligence.
Right, or automation or algorithms.
Exactly.
All those good words.
Yeah, those are the words that are going to impress the examiner.
Right, okay.
And then grammar is also important.
Yeah.
They want to see that you can use a variety of grammatical structures.
Okay.
Accurately.
Yeah.
So things like complex sentences, conditional sentences, relative clauses, passive voice.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about using those structures. It's about using them.
Correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't try to use grammar that you're comfortable with.
Right. It's better to keep it simple.
It's better to be accurate.
And accurate.
Than to make mistakes.
Right.
Trying to be too fancy.
Yeah, okay. I've definitely been guilty of that.
Yeah, we all have.
Yeah.
And then another thing that can really help with your vocabulary is to learn collocations.
Oh, collocations.
Yeah. So those are words that naturally go together.
Right.
So, for example,
heavy rain.
Or
make a decision.
Yeah. Instead of take a decision or something.
Right. So those collocations will make your English sound
more natural. More fluent.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's how native speakers...
That's how we actually speak. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So make a conscious effort to learn collocations for the common IELTS topics.
Okay, cool. Now let's talk about critical thinking.
Right.
Because a big part of part 3 is showing them that you can think critically.
You can analyze.
Yeah.
You can evaluate.
Yeah.
You can speculate.
Yeah.
You can do all those higher order thinking skills.
Right. And that you can express them in English.
Clearly and fluently. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we show them that we can think like an expert?
Right. So the first thing is...
Don't just state your opinion.
Okay, explain it. Yeah.
Give reasons why you think that.
Okay.
And consider different perspectives.
Right.
Even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah. Just to show that you've considered them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you also need to be able to speculate.
Predict the future.
Yeah, what might happen in the future.
Yeah.
And you can use phrases like, I anticipate that.
Or
it is likely that.
It's likely that.
Yeah. Okay. And be prepared for those what-if questions.
Yeah. Like hypothetical situations?
Because those really test your ability to think creatively. And come up with
solutions.
Ideas,
yeah. On the spot.
Right. And so a Band 9 candidate is someone who can do all of that.
Yeah. They can analyze.
They can evaluate.
They can speculate. They can explain. They can give examples.
Yeah.
And they can do it all fluently and accurately.
In English.
Right. That's the key.
And you know what's interesting? Is those hypothetical questions, they're not just about content.
Right.
They're also about language.
Okay.
Because they're testing your ability to use English in a flexible way.
In new situations.
To talk about things that you've never talked about before.
So really showing them that you've mastered the language.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's not just about memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. It's about being able to adapt the language to new situations.
Right. Okay.
So practice those hypothetical questions.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Now, let's say we get a question in part 3, and it's a bit tricky.
Yeah.
We don't really know the answer, or we haven't really thought about it before.
Yeah. You get stuck.
Yeah. What do we do?
Right. So the first thing is, don't panic.
Easier said than done.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's important to stay calm, because if you panic, you're going to make more mistakes.
Right. You're going to freeze up.
Yeah. You're going to freeze up.
Yeah.
So take a breath.
Deep breaths.
Yeah. And if you need a moment to think, use those fillers.
Let
me see.
Let me think about that.
Yeah. And then if you're really stuck, you can always ask the examiner
to repeat the question.
Yeah, to repeat the question.
Or to explain it.
Or to clarify it.
Yeah.
But try not to just sit there in silence for too long.
Too long.
Yeah.
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 Because that's awkward.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
And if you can't think of a specific word, paraphrase.
Paraphrase.
Yeah.
So, like, explain it.
Explain it in a different way.
In a different way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you make a mistake,
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. Correct yourself.
If you can.
If you can.
Yeah.
But don't dwell on it.
Don't dwell on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The important thing
Yeah.
is to maintain fluency.
Fluency.
Yeah.
Okay.
So keep talking.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
Even if you're not sure
Yeah.
what you're going to say.
Even if it's not perfect,
Yeah.
it's better to say something
Then nothing.
than nothing.
Right. Okay. So be resourceful.
Very resourceful.
And resilient.
Resilient.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some of the common mistakes. Yeah. What are those?
That people make in part 3
Yeah.
are things like overcomplicating their answers.
Okay. Trying to be too clever.
Yeah. Speaking too briefly.
Not giving enough detail.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounding like they're reciting
Oh, like memorized bands?
memorized answers.
Yeah.
Lacking coherence.
Not connecting their ideas.
Yeah. Their ideas are all over the place.
Yeah.
Going off topic.
Going off on a tangent.
Yeah. Giving yes or no answers.
Without explaining.
Without explaining.
Right.
Repeating the same words.
Too many times.
Too many times. Overusing transition words.
Oh, yeah. Like firstly, secondly, thirdly.
Yeah, it sounds unnatural.
Yeah.
Parroting the question.
So just repeating the question back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having poor pronunciation.
So the examiner can't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pausing for too long.
Those awkward silences.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's a lot to avoid.
There's a lot to avoid.
Yeah.
But if you're aware of them,
Yeah.
you can avoid them.
You can work on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So practice is key.
Practice is key.
Yeah.
But not just any practice.
Right.
It has to be specific.
It has to be targeted.
Targeted practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we practice effectively?
So the first thing is
Yeah.
to choose topics
Okay.
that are likely to come up.
Like the common IELTS topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things like
Technology,
Technology.
education, environment,
environment. Yeah.
social issues.
Right. Those big, broad topics.
Yeah, there's big, broad topics.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
practice expressing your opinions
Okay.
on those topics.
Even if I don't care about them.
Even if you don't care about them,
Yeah.
because you might get asked about them in the exam.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not just stating your opinion.
Right.
You're explaining it.
Explaining it.
Yeah.
Okay. Giving reasons.
Giving reasons.
Examples. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And using linking words
To connect your ideas.
to connect your ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another really good way to practice
Yeah.
is to do mock tests.
Oh, mock tests.
Yeah.
Like with a teacher or
Yeah. With a teacher or a friend.
or even just record myself.
Record yourself.
Yeah.
And
Then listen back.
and listen back
Yeah.
and see where you can improve.
Right. And that can help with like
Yeah.
fluency and
Fluency, coherence,
pronunciation. right?
pronunciation,
All of it.
all of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So lots of good ways to practice.
Lots of ways to practice.
Yeah.
And the more you practice,
Yeah.
the more confident you'll become.
The more confident, the better you'll get.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the big day.
The big day.
Test day.
Test day.
Test day.
How do we stay calm? Right. Because, like, I know I always get nervous.
Yeah. Nerves are normal,
Yeah.
but they can really affect your performance.
If you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can we do?
So the best thing you can do
Yeah.
is to be prepared.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
Okay.
So make sure you've practiced enough.
Right.
You're familiar with the format.
Yeah.
You know what to expect.
Yeah.
And then on the day of the test,
Yeah.
try to relax.
Relax.
Yeah.
Take some deep breaths.
Deep breaths.
Yeah.
Okay.
Visualize yourself.
Visualize myself.
Doing well?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And remind yourself
Yeah.
that you've prepared for this.
That I've got this.
You've got this.
Yes.